Hey, you are listening to Oh Crap Parenting with me, your host, Jamie Glowacki. This is a podcast for conscious parents who drop the F-bomb a lot. Hey, friends. Welcome. All right. So I do want to do an episode about my travels to Italy to give you guys some travel tips and some advice. I learned some things about my parenting. You know, traveling with another person can be sort of going through a crucible, right? And you learn things about yourself. I know traveling with friends sometimes decimates a friendship. So I want to definitely give you guys some of that, but I have some more timely things to discuss first. Number one today that I'm going to be talking about is trashing gentle parenting. I'm trashing the way people are interpreting gentle parenting because the verdict is out and I'm seeing it all over social media. I'm hearing parents talk about it. Clients are coming to me, parents are coming to me, friends are coming to me, and they're like, what is this fucking gentle parenting? It's not working. And enough time has gone by with that phrase and that notion of gentle parenting. Enough time has passed that we now know it doesn't look like it works. Because most people have interpreted gentle parenting as permissive parenting. And there are a couple of things that people get wrong that I want to go through with you and work it out. Because at its heart, gentle parenting is actually responsive parenting. It's just not ignoring your kid. It's treating them like any other human being. And that includes maybe not being around them when they're being annoying or troublesome or not listening, and losing your shit. So let's talk about that. First of all, gentle parenting is not losing your shit. You are going to lose your shit. We are all going to lose our shit. And there's a funny meme going around on Instagram, which is like, gentle parenting would be a lot easier if I had a gentle kid, right? And so we have become, as a society, we take a notion and we want it to work. I hear this all the time in potty training. Oh, I hope this works. Like, duh. What you're intimating there is that I hope this is a quick fix. Right? Because of course potty training works. It's just how long it takes your child. So I hope it works means you hope something in there makes it super easy or super fast, right? But that's like saying, I hope labor works. You go into labor to have a kid, you're going to have a kid. Yeah. It's going to happen. Is it going to happen quickly and easily? Probably not. Is it going to happen like your neighbor? No. Right? So these things, like when we say it works or it doesn't work, that's not what it's about. It's sort of a framework of being. And so gentle parenting was meant as this framework of being responsive and not being harsh, meaning don't be like the boomers who spanked or stop crying and I'll give you something to cry about, or, just saying to your kid, like flat out, like, you're awful, go away. That harshness, the counteraction was to call it gentle parenting, but it was never meant to be permissive parenting. And what I see across the board is when it quote unquote doesn't work is because it has slipped into permissive parenting. It means that you are attending to every feeling, trying to change that feeling and trying to get it to work. So one of the tenets of gentle parenting or responsive parenting is co-regulation. And we've talked a lot about this on this podcast. And I'm hearing this. I tried co-regulating and it didn't work. Again, what didn't work? Co-regulation is under the umbrella of responsive parenting or gentle parenting, right? It means staying calm in the face of your child's storm, whatever big feeling is coming up, whatever big emotion's coming up. And that means not reacting. Because if you react, you're probably going to be harsh. You're probably going to say things you regret, and you are most certainly going to add fuel to the fire with whatever's going on with your child. Okay. And now co-regulation is for certain things. It's more appropriate with certain ages. 2 and 3-year-olds do not have impulse control. They do not have prefrontal cortex abilities. They do not have executive functioning. their behavior often cannot be talked about with them because they don't understand it. They don't have the language, right? So our job, especially in those young ages, is to stay calm. Now, I would say co-regulation needs to happen at all ages. Let me back that up a little bit. I have noticed even with Pascal at 18 years old, if I can stay calm, the conversation automatically goes better. So we always want to be calm in the face of whatever our children kind of throw our way, whether it's the messy, inarticulated, big emotions of acting out of a toddler, or the more nuanced stuff that happens with a teenager. Us staying calm in the face of that and taking a breath, figuring out what we're going to do or say, that's co-regulation, right? Co-regulation is not a state of being that you can have all the time. You can't be calm all the time. So it's really about learning yourself and what gets you going and what triggers you, what activates you, what gets you fluttery and start to lose control. That's all co-regulation is. Co-regulation is not fixing your child's emotions. It's not getting them to calm down. They will eventually run out of steam and they will calm down. But once a meltdown started, nothing you do or say will probably be effective. But if your child can let it run through them with you staying calm, then they know that their feelings don't bring down the house, that their feelings don't have to be suppressed. That's what we're going for, right? We just don't want these, to create what a lot of us grew up with, which was like, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. So what did we do? We stopped crying, but we just stuffed it in. So then we learn that crying's bad or that getting angry with your parent is bad. And so you can't ever get angry and you become a people pleaser. So we're just letting your kid have the emotion. Validating emotions. This is another tenet of gentle parenting. This one, I think, is the one that's gotten the most skewed and turned into permissive parenting. This is validating an emotion is not making the emotion correct. It's just saying, I see it, right? I see you crying. I see you're sad. That's it. It is not, oh, you're sad? Why are you sad? Here, let mommy help you. I'll do this. I'll do that. Oh, that boy said something to you. I'm going to go fix it. That's not what it is. It's like, wow, I would be sad if somebody called me a name too. And then co-regulating, staying calm with it till your child finishes, gets the feeling out of them. Because all feelings ebb and flow. They go away. But a feeling is not correct. Every person who has a feeling is not correct. That feeling comes from their own stuff, their own lens, their own situations. If it's an adult, their past traumas, these kinds of things. That doesn't mean that you can't validate it. So you validate the feeling, but you don't give in. You don't move to fade or fix it or make it go away. So those two are kind of tightly linked, co-regulation, not working, and validating feelings. What I see in gentle parenting that doesn't work is, number one, it's not only permissive parenting, it's doing the exact opposite that you want to do. It's telling the child that the feeling they're having is no good. That feeling is no good. So put that feeling away and I'm going to fix everything around you so you don't have that feeling. But then we end up with these kids who are super entitled, who think they have a feeling and everybody should bow down to that feeling. That's not what we're doing. You can validate a feeling and be a very responsive parent and still use the go to your room strategy, right? You can say, hey, I see you're really sad and this is a really big feeling and your big feeling needs to come out and it's very loud and it's disturbing dinner. So, let's go to your room so you can have that big feeling. And if you need space to have it and let it go, great. That is awesome for you. So my mom used to do this with my niece. It was so cute. She would be like, oh, you're crying. I can see you're crying. Here's some tissue. You go in my room. You cry. You let those cries right out. And then you come back and let me know when you're ready. Now, a lot of people think that's abandoning the child. You don't necessarily have to be co-regulating with a kid right with them. right with them and holding them. Yes, maybe if they're 1.5, they're 18 months. Maybe if they're 24 months, maybe if they're, right in that zone, like 30 months where they're between 2 and 3 and they can't quite figure it out, right? Then you can, yes, get down on their level, hold them till it subsides, or just be with them. But I think this idea of co-regulating with the child till it passes is wildly not realistic. It's so unrealistic. And I hear other, Dr. Becky Good Inside, a couple of people have come to me. They're like, I just don't, like, her stuff is so unrealistic. And I think she's got great, great stuff. I'm not coming down on her, but a lot of times it does feel unrealistic, because the reality is a lot of times your kid has their worst behavior when you're cooking dinner, when the baby's screaming, when your husband's like, what do you need me to do? And like everything's collapsing on you and you just got home from work. And so, spending time with one child when you have 3 who have needs, right? And one child is bringing down the house right now, that may be unrealistic. And it's okay. It's okay to lovingly separate from them, but whether it's you or them, but you do it in a calm manner. And that's not abandoning. Telling a child, go to your room, what you're doing is terrible, you're wrecking dinner, I don't want to see your face. That's something different. That's the harsh parenting. And I think that's how we have to look at the lens of gentle parenting, is like opposite of harsh, not permissive, right? And I just keep seeing this over and over and over again. Another thing that comes under gentle parenting is this idea of consent. Dude, I'm a woman. I'm a woman who went through the 70s and 80s. Like, I'm all about bodily consent. I get it. Teaching children consent is wildly important. I think people have carried it a little far with like, is it okay if I change your diaper? Is it okay if we potty train? Is it okay if I brush your teeth? When we start asking children questions that require safety or long-term things like brushing your teeth, right? Like, you have to brush your teeth. Those, I think, aren't the times that we ask for consent. I think we tell them so we don't sneak up behind them and stuff a toothbrush in their face, right? But we can say, now it's time to brush your teeth. I'm going to help you brush your teeth. So this idea of consent has like wound us up into a lot of power struggles, because parents will come to me and they'll say, well, I'm really focusing on consent and bodily autonomy, and she's 2.5 and she just won't consent to brushing her teeth. And I'm like, you are adding so much work to your day. We can be very respectful of our children and treat them just like a human being, but they are a human being who, again, doesn't have impulse control, doesn't have a prefrontal cortex, has no idea of the ramifications of their actions or lack of actions in the future. And so some things just have to be. And the reason I'm going through all of these and the minutia of these is because this is one of the things that is consuming our time. And we have a time crisis. And that's going to be the next episode. That's a whole nother subject. The Surgeon General has put out a warning that parenting is hazardous to your health, which is one thing we know. And part of that is intensive parenting. And so part of this podcast is like unraveling the gentle parent part of intensive parenting, because I think we're heavily parenting when we don't need to. Some of self-regulation, some of bodily autonomy comes from experience, right? Comes from growth, comes from brain development that your littles just may not have right now. All right, moving on. Another part of it, this like gentle parenting, is the idea that we're meant to spend all our time with our kids. Now, for sure, if you both work outside the home or you're a single parent, time is of a premium, right? And so we have been convinced that we need to spend our connection time playing with our children. And I will say this might be one of those things on my gravestone, which by now is billboard size. We are not meant to be our children's playmate. If you enjoy playing, especially make-believe with your child, I'm here to tell you it's for you. It's not for them. And anybody who has tried to play make-believe with your kids knows it's an exercise in your child bossing you around. No, you're not doing it right. No, you're not saying it right. No, say this. They'll practically give you a script and yell at you. Because we live in the real world. Our suspension of disbelief is long gone. We are realists and we got shit to do. And now I have to play fairies and leprechauns or whatever your kid's into. We're not good at it. So we're not their playmates. We're not on their level. So we're really bad playmates. We are good at like wrestling and roughhousing. We are good probably at helping them build things, right? That's cool. But you don't have to spend your connection time playing with your kid. Connection time can be a conversation. Connection time can happen when you're watching a movie together. Connection time can happen when you're in the kitchen together. Even if your child refuses to help, sit them on the counter and get some conversation going. We've gone through this in a previous podcast, right? There's lots of ways that you can connect with your child without putting off the myriad of things you need to do to keep house, to keep yourself healthy. You don't have to do that. Okay. And so that's part of this gentle parenting is, I cannot freaking stand when I see on social media, my 2-year-old's my best friend. Lord, if your 2-year-old is your best friend, you need to go see a therapist ASAP. Your child can be lovely. I loved spending time with Pascal. Your child can be that lovely, but your child should not be your best friend. And if you're calling your child your best friend, then something's really wrong. You should not be spending all your time with your child, because we learned during the pandemic that, oh my God, can you hear my chickens? I couldn't go to my workspace. And right now they're like all up. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're driving me crazy. We learned during the pandemic that one of the things that was really horrible is that kids had adults as playmates and they got used to getting their way. Because adults will always cave. Adults don't want to, they don't want to give in. They don't want to rock the boat. They're going to let you win at Candyland. Other kids are not going to do that. And so kids should be playing with other kids. However you can set that up, maybe at school or whatever. What I see more frequently is when kids are, both parents work, they get home, it's dinner time, and the parents have to like spend that connection time with their kids, and it gets like just crazy. They want to play with them, and then the parents are like, I gotta make dinner. I don't know how to connect. And then if they don't connect, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. And so that kind of thing can happen too. That's why I don't want you to put things off. I want you to go about your daily routine and the things that need to be done and draw your child in. When we separate time to play with our kids, and this is just mommy playtime, all the time, number one, it's taxing us out on our time and burning us out. We lead the household. We have every right to do all the things that lead to a happy, healthy, smoothly running household. The things that are getting in the way are all these gentle parenting things that make for permissive parenting and that take us away from like the things we need to do. So then we have no self-care, not even brutal self-care of like just keeping the kitchen clean, right? Like that's a brutal self-care I call that. Now that's not happening because these kids are getting all of our attention. So those are some things that I think make gentle parenting not work. And I want to reiterate what this really comes down to is validating emotions without giving into that emotion, without making that emotion the thing that rules the roost. And that is where I think most parents try to do or see other people. Like I had a friend contact me who said, I can't deal with it. My friends do gentle parenting and their kids are nightmares. Nobody wants to hang out with their kids because their kids want everything their way. And that's where this really, I think, if you guys have other ideas, I'd love to hear them. But that's where I think the gentle parenting thing is going wrong. And I also think it's really going wrong with the like a kid is in the middle of the house, dinner's being served, other kids have needs, everything's chaotic. And now the kid has a big feeling, a big emotion, a meltdown, and everybody's supposed to stop and cater to that meltdown. That's not how it is. And so if you're new to my podcast and my work, I have quite a few episodes in the past about the go to your room strategy, which is you can always lovingly separate either yourself or your child. And it can be done in a very calm manner that's not abandoning. They're more than welcome to come into the fold. They're more than welcome to be there with you. But we can't have one kid bringing down everybody else. It's not fair to the household. And what we want to do with responsive parenting is be family centered. I talked about that also in a previous podcast. If we are child centered, and usually you have one, right, who's the hot spot, and that child may be more sensitive than your others. That child may have higher needs than your others. And that one child gets all the focus. We can't keep putting all the focus on them and their feelings. We know what happens now. What happens is those children expect everybody to bend and twist around them. And that's not fair. It also doesn't teach any autonomy. When we go back to the consent piece, bodily autonomy, yeah, like don't touch me. But what also comes from that is that, yes, I can advocate for myself and I can be strong. We want to teach a child that they can be strong and get through these feelings. If somebody calls you a name, that, yes, it may hurt your feelings, but there's no physical damage done. I can guarantee, because one kid called your kid a name, they're not going to end up in therapy. There's plenty. Your kid's going to need therapy anyway, but that's not going to be the crux that does it, right? But we want to teach them that, no, we're not going to fix society. We're going to let these feelings be. We're going to let these feelings be and hang out, and you can weather them. When we teach kids that they can't weather emotions, it's a disaster. And we now know enough time has gone by that it's a disaster. And these kids are unpleasant to other kids. They expect everybody to, again, bend and twist to them. And it's just not cool. So that's where I've landed on gentle parenting. I just think the term should be done away with. At this point, it's been so bastardized that I think everybody has the wrong interpretation of it. So if you are using the term gentle parenting, then what you really need to do is compare it to what harsh parenting is, because that's what it is. It's the opposite of that harsh parenting. And like everything, like the truth, I think the truth is a Venn diagram, and it's always in the middle, right? So I feel like the same thing is we don't have to be permissive and we don't have to be harsh, even though we are going to be harsh sometimes. Yeah. We may be harsh, and the key there is repair. So this is all things we've talked about in the past, but I just wanted to put it succinctly in one podcast, because all I'm hearing right now is gentle parenting. Gentle parenting doesn't work. And I'm like, yes and no, it doesn't work the way people are doing it, but in general, responsive parenting is the way to go. You want to respond to your child like a new human, right? They're new. So you're going to have to lead the show intellectually and emotionally, but they're also human. Don't say things to your kids that you wouldn't say to your friend when they were upset. So I hope that clarifies things. And again, I would love, we talk a lot about this on our live calls in the Oh Crap Cafe. That's our online parenting community. If you want to join that, I'll put that in the show notes. But we also talk about it on social media, and I see it all over social media. And so I'd love to hear if you guys feel like you're doing gentle parenting well or responsive parenting well. And if you have tried quote unquote gentle parenting, and what happened? How did it work for you? Why do you feel like it doesn't work? Again, I don't like the word it works. I would never say I'm an attachment parenter. It works. No, it's just a framework of being with your child. It's not whether it works or not. Kids are going to be shitty. All humans are going to be shitty. We're going to be shitty in our response, but kids just are going to be shitty because they don't know. They don't have the words. They have to act it out, and they're raw. I just 3-year-olds have been on the planet for 1,000 days. They just don't know. And so let's not think about capping those emotions and capping those feelings. And I just want peace is have a framework of being in your life. And the responsive parenting goes hand in hand with family centered. And we'll talk more about that next episode. All right, you guys, as always, I appreciate you. I appreciate you listening, and rock on.
Okay, bye everyone. Just a reminder, if you need additional resources, I have Oh Crap Potty Training. I have Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler. Those books are available everywhere you want to find a book. You can also go to my website, jamieglowacki.com, where you can book private sessions with me, buy any of my courses. Those are really geared towards potty training help. And also, I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, jamie.glowacki, and I do a lot of lives and usually posting a lot of good information. So those are extra resources for you. And as always, rock on. Have an awesome day.